Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, as you know, we started as Washington Gun Law, but now we get to talk about all 50 states, sometimes in really, really glowing terms, and sometimes not so much. Now, when it comes to some of the more routine offenders, the persistent offenders, if you would, well, that's going to be New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Maryland, and of course, the king of crazies, California. And we're going to talk about California again. They always do give us a lot to talk about. And listen, there's only a 50% chance that it's going to be good. That is when California gets their ass handed to them in court. And that's been happening quite a bit lately. We got a little bit of that, but we're going to talk about all the new legislation to come out of Sacramento this year. And there's a lot. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about 12 new ways California will disarm its citizens. Okay, before we get going too far down the road, we're going down. Proud to announce that this video is being brought to you by Security Gun Club. That's right, Washington's nicest indoor shooting facility is located right here in Woodinville, Washington. Now listen, you've heard me brag about the facility, and you've heard me brag about the people, and you certainly have heard me brag about the training there, but what I want to talk to you about right now is Glock Demo Days. That's right, this Saturday and Sunday, September 23rd and 24th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Representatives will be there from Glock, and while you are there, hey, stop and do some shopping. You will get 15% off any Glock firearm or magazine. Now, here's the best part. While you're there, you can also enter to win a Glock 17 or a Glock 19. So once again, that's Glock Demo Days located at Security Gun Club this Saturday and Sunday, September 23rd and 24th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. For more information, visit my good friends at Security Gun Club. Now that is security with an E, securitygunclub.com. Okay, so we're talking about California yet again today because, listen, for those of you who wonder why do I talk about California, a couple of reasons. Number one, well, they are the king of crazies and they give you a lot of material to work with. Number two, for people who live in my state, Washington, Oregon, or some of the other bluer states in the country, you might want to pay very careful attention to what happens in California because like a bad cancer, it has a tendency to spread to your state. And then for those of you who actually live in states where you still resembles the United States of America, you can also see what the civilian disarmament agenda looks like because, trust me, it is coming your way. Now, the one piece of good news, as you know, we talked about it on this video right here. There was a couple of cases. One's called Nichols v. Newsom. The other one is Baird v. Bonta. And these were challenges to California's blanket ban on open carrying for any county that had more than 200,000 people, and then the licensing regime for all the rest. Now, a 3-judge panel in the Ninth Circuit, as you know, overturned that law and said that an injunction actually should have been issued against it and remanded it down to the lower court. The state of California asked for an en banc review of it, that is to get the whole panel of judges together and then have a do-over. That motion has been denied. So this now will head back down to the district court for findings consistent with the court's order. So California's kind of blanket ban or licensing regime when it comes to open carry is under significant constitutional scrutiny right now. This is really good news. Unfortunately, it's the only good news I have because now we have to talk about all of the legislation which has come out of Sacramento this legislative session, which now heads to Governor Newsom's desk for signature. And there are 12, that's right, 12 pieces of legislation, the dirty dozen of civilian disarmament legislation to come from Sacramento. So, without further ado, let's get right to it, okay? There is Senate Joint Resolution 7. Senate Joint Resolution 7 is really nothing more than a resolution, but it calls for a constitutional convention so we can vote on Gavin Newsom's 28th Amendment or his idea to eviscerate the Second Amendment. Now, we've already done this video right here, and he's playing with fire because while there could be a constitutional convention called, highly unlikely, but if it was, hey, all bets are off. We could talk about a lot of other things and other constitutional amendments that should be added to the Constitution. So he may bite off off more than he could chew if it were to actually come to fruition. Now, to get to some real legislation, let's talk about Assembly Bill 28. Now, Assembly Bill 28, we've already done this video right here about it, and this is an 11% excise tax on all firearms and ammunition. This is essentially a way just to price you out of the market. Now, for some reason, people believe that Governor Newsom may not actually sign this legislation. I do not fall into that camp. I think he will gladly sign this. That is, again, is Assembly Bill 28. Then there's Assembly Bill 92, which makes it a misdemeanor if you are already prohibited from possessing a firearm. It will now be a misdemeanor for you to also possess body armor. Don't know why suddenly you cannot wear body armor, but for whatever reason, the state of California thinks you've lost that right as well. And so that becomes effective law if Governor Newsom signs this legislation. Okay, then there's Assembly Bill 301. Now, this makes a new criteria by which you can issue a red flag order, which is that that individual has naturally gone out now and acquired body armor. So apparently now we can have red flag orders issued against people who don't necessarily own firearms, but have had the audacity to go out and purchase body armor. Assembly Bill 725 will now have a reporting requirement not only for lost or stolen firearms, but also any of the precursor parts. And so therefore a failure to comply with that could lead to ultimate criminal liability if those precursor parts are then used in the commission of a crime. Assembly Bill 1089. This makes the 3D printing, CNC, 3D printing, and all of that of firearms absolutely illegal in the state of California. It also makes illegal the sharing of any files on how to, or diagrams, schematics, or any other data associated with the 3D printing of firearms. Assembly Bill 1406 allows the State Department of Justice to request an additional 30-day hold on a license application for further investigation. So essentially this will give the state of California an additional 30 days to delay any further applications. Assembly Bill 1483. Now, as you guys know, in California, you have this goofy rule that you can only purchase X number of firearms per month. However, that only accounted for what would be considered sales through FFLs. You could actually work around it through private sales. However, that exemption is now absolutely removed through this Assembly Bill. Okay, Assembly Bill 1587. Now, this is one that we've actually done some videos, and a lot of people here in the YouTuberverse have done so, and this is creating special merchant codes so that firearms and ammunition purchases can be tracked, okay? And of course, do we think that Governor Newsom is going to sign this piece of legislation? Of course he's going to sign it. Okay, then we move on to the Senate bills. Senate Bill 2 is the Bruin Response Bill. Now, this is probably one of the more significant pieces of legislation. It redoes all of California's concealed carry license application apparatus, but more importantly, creates all new sensitive place restrictions, which will encapsulate large swaths of the state of California now. Senate Bill 368, if signed into legislation by Governor Newsom, will now prohibit gun stores, FFLs, and all of those types of operations from doing giveaways, prize contests, or anything like that where they're giving away items from their inventory. There will be an exception for nonprofit organizations, but your typical for-profit businesses will not be allowed to do that anymore. And then finally, Senate Bill 452, which now will postpone California's micro-stamping requirements until January 1st of 2028. If you guys don't know what micro-stamping is, we're going to do a video about it sometime when we're really super bored and decide to do that. It is technology that will apparently make it easier to trace firearms. However, there is massive limitations of the effectiveness of that. And so if you understand how California's handgun roster works and what needs to be in it and all that, you understand how they're going to use micro-stamping to eventually just remove all firearms from their handgun roster. So that is the 12 pieces of legislation to come out of Sacramento, this legislation, all of which now head to Governor Newsom's desk. My prediction is he will sign all 12 of them. I know some of you think that there's one or two he may not sign. Don't hold your breath. Listen, if you have any more questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is right down there in the description box. In the meantime, let's all remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Philip P., this one's for you, and everyone, stay safe.